So coming to what Ankushi just said, we call ourselves financial crime experts. Because to work in this domain of forensic audit or financial crime, as you may call, you have to think like a person who's a fraudster, who's a perpetrator. They are far ahead of us, so we need to evolve our thinking, our techniques, our methodologies in a manner that we are able to prevent, detect and investigate what kind of crimes are happening. And today, with the way technology is evolved, financial crime is evolved as well. Nobody is just forging checks or manipulating only accounts. There's so much more that is happening, and all of you all know, you all read about digital frauds day in and day out. It's in the newspaper every single day. So this is what we are going to talk about, and now let's just make this very, very interesting in terms of, let's start with first is collecting data and evidence. Now, can anybody tell me one thing? Is everything that, all your findings or everything that you gather evidence? Yes or no? Just yes or no? No, right? Absolutely. It could be intelligence. So your findings are basically intelligence. You have made a pool of intelligence, which you've got from various sources. Now, when you gather this data, you start analyzing that what of this is actionable evidence, intelligence. Okay, what is actionable intelligence? And then you start thinking that which actionable intelligence can be presented in the court as evidence. So this is your basic formation, and this is the basic thing that you need to start thinking on. These are the lines that you need to think on. Because I'll tell you one thing. What we look at as chartered accountants, we look at financial information. We are very good at it. All balance sheets, all financial data that is given to us. We look at the business structure, operations. We look at all the contracts that have been entered. We look at the customer information, whom they are dealing with, where they are exporting. We verify the employees whom they are working with, legal issues also, physical assets, real estate, and the intellectual property. This is the basic spectrum of our audit, forensic audit that we do. Okay, now I'm going to talk about what we miss out on. And every time I talk about this, I keep telling every chartered accountant, learn how to look beyond numbers, learn how to look beyond documents. It's extremely important, because everything is so well fabricated that it is very difficult to unveil the truth. Now, when we talk about it, anybody from here, okay, who can just look at this financial statement, and it's a very simple thing, there's nothing which I've complicated in this, and basis on this, can anybody tell me any intelligence that you can gather? I'm not even calling it evidence right now, I'm calling it only intelligence. And just like how somebody said, we should have more practical things. So that's why I've tried to make my presentation very practical, and then I'll go into the theoretical part of it. Absolutely, spot on. So we can see that there is a huge amount of investment that is done in the plant and machinery. But has that investment translated into an incremental sales in the same proportion? The answer is no. Okay. Now there could be various reasons for it. What are the various reasons? Anybody? Sorry, can you be louder? It may be in the initial stage, okay. Yeah, but if a person is making a huge investment, then he definitely has a very long gestation period in mind. So yes, it takes time to translate, okay. Anybody else? Maybe into a pre-trial phase, okay. So there's an impairment of plant and machinery. So you mean to say there's a replacement that is being done. Fair enough. Anybody else? Yeah, bogus billing, okay. Yes, business cycle. It's failed. The demand which I anticipated is not there any longer. Yes. Any other reasons? Cash sales. Cash sales तो फिर भी आ जाएगा ना कहीं reflect. Yes, cash sales which are not accounted for, you mean to say, right? They have sold in the black market, unaccounted cash sales. Point taken. Anybody else? Sorry? Regulatory restrictions. Yes, maybe there was like, for example, a labor strike. What can you do about it, right? The company had to got shut down. So any kind of external or internal factors which could have been responsible for the investment not translating. So these are the things where you've dodged your mind. Now you need to start narrowing down your findings, and you need to rule out all these possibilities. Okay? And once you start ruling out all these possibilities by seeing what was the business cycle, what was the demand of that product which he was manufacturing, where he was selling it, who were the people who was catering to, why was this huge investment of more than 15,000 crores made? That is the time when you start looking out for other things to substantiate whatever your thoughts are. And everybody who said here, whatever you said, absolutely valid points. Everybody was bang on. But the question is, how do I substantiate and how do I rule out what were the possibilities? Why is this not translating into sales? And this is typically, this is a real-time example. This is a case where the funds were siphoned off into other things. So there were three things that you are always analyzing. One is when you're looking at the numbers, you're trying to do some interpretation, just like how you had said, that there's an inflation. Absolutely right. Because the second thing is you're comparing financial ratios. So you're saying, itna investment mein increase hua, but itna investment mein sales mein nahi hua. So you've analyzed your financial ratio to conclude that. The third thing, that accounting standard, what all have I capitalized, right? So that is also something which you consider. So all these three factors. Then you look at what is the business of this company. Who are the people who are running this business? Whom are they selling to? Was there really a slowdown in the economy? Yes or not? And ये सब basically आपको पता चल जाएगा. You will be able to gauge it because you have a sense of the economy, right? You'll be able to know that, okay, अभी कोई कहेगा कि calculators बेचना मेरा बंद हो गया. Yes, because mobiles आ गए तो अभी कोई calculator नहीं खरीदा. So you know it, it's common sense, right? So you have to be very commonsensical, and then once you have identified that there is these inflations that are happening, there's a next step that you need to take. What is the next step that you need to take, okay? Now you need to go into the formation of the company. And let me tell you one thing which is the most important thing and which we all miss out is that when we are doing any kind of investigation, we have a very, sometimes we kind of procrastinate things. We don't make notings. So whenever you're doing in any kind of documentation doesn't have to happen at the end. It starts in the start itself. In the start itself, you start writing what were the discrepancies, what were the findings. So you start noting it down because later on, it will help you to build on your case. So the minute you start anything with whatever your scope of investigation is given, you start making your notings from day one, in fact from the very second itself, to not delay it. Okay, and then I will show you how these techniques can be useful. Now when you go into the ownership of the company, it's again very important, structure of the company. Okay, what is the structure? Is it an LLP? Is it based out of India? Does it have any branches? If it has branches, okay. If it has subsidiaries, okay. Where are they based out of? What is the business rationale of having these subsidiaries? Okay. Who are the directors? What are the type of businesses? Who are the beneficial owners? Very, very important. How many of you all will agree with me beneficial ownership is the most important in today's time? Anybody? All of you? And why is it camouflaged? Is another question. Again, you all are only going to answer it. I'm not going to give you the answers. So we'll come on that next. The second is, what is the risk? Am I operating in a highly cyclical market because of which my sales could not kick off? Because there's a business cycle, the demand fell out. What is the intended nature of the business? Who are the third parties? Who are the vendors? What are the business relationships? So all of this is something which you should do as a study. It's like, before giving the exam, how we do a study around all these things. सबसे पहले आपके पास कोई assignment आता है. So you do this study first to identify all this in your mind. Put it in your mind that this is what the company is all about. It's like a KYC. Know who you're dealing with. आप किसका audit कर रहे हो, आप पहले उसका पूरा खाता वाता निकाल लो. And it will help you drastically. Believe me, it will help you drastically. Product services, which are the markets that you're catering to, which are the high-risk jurisdictions, what are the business? So that's why I always say, know who you're dealing with is the most important thing. When you're getting a scope of investigations, do not take anybody at face value, except for the person who has appointed you. Understand what is your scope. Understand what are the protocols for reporting. Some people might sound like trusted employees of that person who has appointed you, but may not be the trusted ones. Because all these insider frauds happen by the most trusted people. Do not take anybody at face value. There's something which is called tipping off. How many of you all have heard of this term, tipping off? What is it? Yeah, it's tipping off मतलब आपने casually मैंने बात करी थी lunch पे, I was sitting with some trusted employees of the guy who's appointed me for the forensic audit, and casually मैंने बोल दिया कि मुझे तो लग रहा है ना कि इस चीज़ में कुछ झोल है, इसने यहाँ पे कुछ करा है, he's manipulated something. ऐसे ही casually lunch के ऊपर हंसी मजाक में आपने बोल दिया. It's enough. If he is the person who has done this, you have alerted him. This is called tipping off. When you're on an assignment, do not tip off anybody. Do not speak about any work that you're doing, or do not ask documents for a person who is not relevant to give you that document also. This is meaning that you are telling him that I'm suspecting something, and the minute, you see, he is very clever, because the one who has had the courage to do the fraud, obviously he's taken his own precautions. He cannot afford to be caught. है ना, वो बंदा पकड़ा नहीं जा सकता है. So do not tip him off by asking him for any kind of documents or giving him any information which should not be given in the normal course of business. It's not his job to know. Okay? So coming back to this, the product, the services, the customers, and high-risk jurisdictions. Do you know why all these amendments happened and all these acts came into being? They were all to guard beneficial ownership. For example, the Benami Transaction Prohibition Act, where we talk about what is the prohibition of the holding property, so that nobody is holding properties in Benami names. The SEBI Foreign Portfolio Investment Regulation says a lot of FDI investment that's happening in India. Now, who are the beneficial owners? कहाँ पर बैठे हुए हैं, कौन क्या invest कर रहा है, क्यों invest कर रहा है? How will this be reported? That's the reason that all these disclosures are required. PMLA, you have to identify the beneficial owner. In fact, now the threshold for reporting the beneficial owner has been revised. Anybody knows what is the threshold for beneficial ownership? It's revised to 10% now. So the thing is that they know that through multiple structures, through multiple variations, there's a lot of things happening. And that's why these limits are getting revised. And 10%, and then they say 10% not just ownership, but voting rights. You know, your authority, your indirect or direct influence on the company, all of that has to be considered while understanding whether you're a beneficial owner or not. And then the company's restriction on layering. Can anybody give me any classic case where there was a lot of layering done? Many frauds that have happened. Multiple layers, multiple subsidiary companies. पता ही नहीं चला कहाँ से कहाँ पैसा घूम गया. ILFS, one of them, yes. Any more names? Reliance, they have multiple companies. So again, multiple structures. Ketan Parekh fraud. Ketan Parekh was the first time when this actually came into everybody's knowledge on how well he used subsidiaries and layering to actually circulate the money around and fabricate the stock price. So this is the biggest thing, is that when you're doing an audit or when you're writing your documentation, the biggest thing that you can use is mind mapping. So when you say mind mapping, you start drawing. So you pivot the company, the ownership, and then you start branching it out in the sense that this is the person whom I'm dealing with, this is the bank account. What are the transactions that are happening in this bank account? Who are the associated people with whom he's dealing with? Start jotting out all of this so that in your mind you have a full framework of this. Who are the related parties? Who are the beneficial owners? All of this. And then you start doing calculations of how the money was flowing in through all these entities or all these persons who were involved. So a mind mapping or a graphical presentation of the ownership, the transaction flow, and the money flow. All of these are very, very useful for you. And you'll be able to gather a lot of things when you go to stage 2. So this is your stage 1 exercise, which I'm saying. So whatever is apparent on the balance sheet in terms of the numbers, you've documented that from the financial information, just like how we saw that there was a manipulation, possibly a manipulation done, right, to inflate the investment in capital. And in this, we have seen how we've understood the entire structure of the company whose audit we are doing. Now let's move next. Now let's start looking at the nature of the transactions. Okay, what are the transactions that this person is doing? One is that, are the goods that I'm dealing with consistent or inconsistent with my trade profile? Okay, that's very important. Now, for example, if I'm dealing in sugar, so jaggery is a byproduct, That could be one of the products I'm also exporting, importing. There could be so many such things. These are all ancillary to this. But suddenly if I start saying that I formed a company which I'm providing an X or a Y product which is not related to my business, okay, then there's a thought for you. There's something that should sound fishy to you, that why was this diversion done from one business to another. Yes, everybody likes to have diverse businesses in today's time. But what was the rationale? सिर्फ इतना ही आपको समझना है. I'm not saying that suspect everything. See, in today's time when data is abundant, when there are so many things, आप हर चीज़ को suspect करके बैठोगे तो आपका time waste हो जाएगा. I'm just saying register this in your mind. Okay? What is the market price of that product? For example, if I'm trading diamonds, then you know what is an approximate cost of diamonds. Now, for example, like a Nirav Modi, uska luxury brand of diamonds tha. So I could not ascertain what is the pricing of the diamonds that I'm buying, because he said that the way he is setting it up, the making of it, because of which he is charging you a premium. So fair enough, but just to be aware of how is this invoicing done, what is the market pricing is very important. What is the description of the goods and what is the consignment size? I have come across cases where the production capacity of the factory was say 6 lakhs units, but they were exporting 10 lakh units. अभी आप क्वेश्चन पूछोगे 4 लाख यूनिट कहाँ से आए आपके, and you know when you aggregate data there's some manipulation that he's done. So he said that मैं एक ही चीज़ को 4 पार्ट में करके बेच रहा था, तो फिर वो कौन सी ऐसी चीज़ है जो 4 पार्ट में बिक सकती है, आप वो देखो, आप सोचो कि ये कोई ऐसे खरीदेगा क्या. I had a case where people were exporting rice and coffee to Brazil. Now a country like Brazil, which has got the highest manufacturing of these goods, why are they going to import from you? What are you providing them? So what is the trading rationale? What is behind the story? भाई आपको पता तो चल गया वो इससे ट्रेड कर रहा है, लेकिन आप ये पूछो कि इसकी डिमांड इस कंट्री में कैसे है. इट इज़ द लार्जेस्ट प्रोड्यूसर ऑफ दिस गुड. You know, why are you exporting to this country? And that's where it strikes you that there is something fishy in the nature of his business that he is doing. That's where you start collecting all these red flags or typologies, whatever you call them, saying that there is something that I need to look further into. Okay, forged documents, that I'm sure all of you will understand. Now in today's time, there's a very, very, very technical angle which has come to it, which also, you know, हमेशा हम लोग बोलते थे कि ये जोग्राफी पढ़ के हमें क्या करना है, मतलब मेरा तो सब्जेक्ट ही अच्छा नहीं लगता था जोग्राफी, याद करो कि कौन सी चीज़ कहाँ पर है. आज मुझे पता चल जाता है इसकी कितनी सिग्निफिकेंस है, because a lot of times what is the trade route that you're adopting and why you're trading, why is the shipment going via these countries is very important. Can anybody tell me what is the reason to understand what is the trade route and how is the shipment traveling? No, it's traveling because I have an export assignment. तो मुझे इस country को goods भेजने हैं. That's it, simple. मुझे भेजनी है ये goods Africa. Okay, there's no doubt about it, for example. But why is it important for you to understand what is the trading route that they have adopted? Yes, so tax benefit could be one of the things, but the biggest thing in today's time that has evolved is tariff evasion. Everybody knows that Trump has put tariffs everywhere. Okay, now if India has a tariff on certain goods, तो मैं बेवकूफ़ तो नहीं हूँ कि मैं सब इंडिया से बेचूंगी. तो जिस गुड पे टैरिफ नहीं होएगा मैं उसका वेग डिस्क्रिप्शन लिख के उसको XYZ कंट्री में भेजूंगी जहाँ पे उस पर वो टैरिफ इम्पोज नहीं है. उससे क्या कहेंगे, भाई तू शिप कर वहाँ से. Tariff evasion. Second thing, sanctions evasion. How many of you all are familiar with sanctions? Yeah? What is the sanctions? Yeah, with certain countries, certain products, certain people, right? And that is the handle that they use to impose a ban or a penalty on you for doing certain things, especially in today's time when the geopolitical tensions are at such a high. So the second thing could be sanctions evasion. This country is sanctions, and you all know that India is bearing the burn, right? Because we were importing Russian oil. Trump has now come very strongly with us on tariffs because he's saying that despite of Russia being under sanctions, and or you know, why are you dealing with this? Because this is giving them funding for the war. So you're actually enabling them. So sanctions evasion is a very, very big thing in today's time. And we talk very, very extensively about sanctions. And sanctions, there's sanctions to a lot of sensitive goods also. For example, आज आप think of something which is as easy as drones or night optics, जिसमें आपको रात को दिखता है ना, तो you use night optics, that light and the front which is there, or something like a drone. Now what do you think could be so wrong for a person who is exporting these articles? What could go wrong if I'm exporting drones? What could go wrong if I'm exporting night optics? Yeah, he's spot on. Because all these things are called dual use goods. They can be used for the right purposes and they can be used by terrorists for the wrong purposes as well. For example, drones, you all know, right? They can be used for spying. Night optics, for doing a night attack on any country. So what are you importing? What are you exporting? Again, all of this. Now you go and you select a port which is far away. You don't mind paying that kind of, but you know कि वहाँ पे जो customs है ना, बहुत easily आपका कुछ पूछेगा नहीं, सब papers clear कर देगा. See, this is the exercise that a fraudster does. मैं आपको बता रही हूँ, सबसे intelligent आदमी जो इस दुनिया में है ना, fraudster है. And which is the highest growing industry in today's time? It's the fraud industry. भूल जाओ, pharma भूल जाओ, ये भूल जाओ, वो भूल जाओ. It's the highest growing industry is the fraud industry. It's become like an economy. And does anybody know what is the volume of global frauds in financial crime? And I'll come to what is all financial crime covers. How much of global GDP is it, wiping off? Any guess? Any guess? What is the global GDP? बता दो पहले एक तो. कुछ भी बोलो ना. इंडिया की क्या है? 4-5 ट्रिलियन होने वाली है. What is the global GDP? It's more than $100 trillion. $100 trillion. Between $100 to $120 trillion is what is estimated. Financial crime, which includes corruption, bribery, counterfeiting, money laundering, sanctions evasion, tax evasion, is the accounted number is 5% of the global GDP. If I have to talk about the unaccounted number, it is more than 10% of the global GDP. So can you imagine what an impact all these activities are happening? It's huge, unimaginable. And a lot of this is happening. Another reason why I might choose a port which is far. अरे मुझे तो यहाँ से मैं shipment करती, for example, if I'm sitting in Ahmedabad, okay, मैं इस port से क्यों नहीं कर रही हूँ shipment, मैं चेन्नई से क्यों shipment कर रही हूँ? There has to be a business rationale. क्योंकि I'm paying a transportation cost, ना logistic cost है कि मैं यहाँ से manufacture कर रही हूँ, but shipment मैं उस जगह से कर रही हूँ. So there could be so many things. It could be wildlife trafficking. It could be human trafficking. It could be drug trafficking. It could be some dual-use goods, tariff evasion, sanctions evasion, so many things behind it. And the reason why I'm telling you all this is that when you're doing your audit report writing, and when you want to draw a rationale to certain activities that are happening in and around the organization, all of this helps you a very big time when you're working with law enforcement agencies. Very, very big time. And this is what will help you. On paper, it will show everything is clear. On paper, customs fee pass kar dega. See, one more thing that you have to realize is that banks see documents, right? Bank में आपने document करा, bill discounting, जो भी है आपने करा. Bank में आपने LC वेलसी दी. Customs sees goods, right? Customs पर वो good भी ऐसे कोई inspect नहीं करेगा. I've seen people ने Apple के अंदर OPM डाल के export करा हुआ है. So they are not going to cut every apple to see कि apple के अंदर क्या है. I mean, there's so many tricks and techniques that people have come with. अब क्या होता है, ना ही बैंक ने कभी कस्टम से कम्युनिकेट करा, ना ही कस्टम ने कभी बैंक के साथ कम्युनिकेट करा है. बैंक अपना काम करता है, कस्टम्स अपना काम करता है. इसके बीच में जो होता है ना, वो सब हमें पता चलता है. This is what is financial crime. This is the biggest gap. So this is how all these parameters are of huge relevance, and you can raise your mind कि क्या क्या हो रहा होगा दुनिया में, कहाँ कहाँ बैठ के. Okay. Now again, just to keep everybody awake, and all the backbenchers there who did not come in the front, all those 3 to 4 people who are sitting there. This side is answering, that side is not. ना आप आंसर कर रहे हो, और लेफ्ट में जो है सबको ही सोना नहीं चाहिए यार, नहीं तो मैं नेक्स्ट टाइम ना लंच के बाद कभी सेशन नहीं करूँगी. I kind of very consciously don't take a session after lunch, क्योंकि मुझे पता है अगर मैं आपकी जगह हो तो मैं भी सो जाऊँगी. Okay, now I want you guys to tell me what intelligence can you gather? And this is actually the trade data which I've got from a bank. उसी का स्क्रीनशॉट मैंने लेकर यहाँ प्रेजेंटेशन में डाला है. आप मुझे बताओ इसमें कुछ अनोमली है या नहीं है? हाँ जी, बिल ऑफ एंट्री इज पेंडिंग. ठीक है, बताते रहो. देखो इसमें कोई सही और गलत आंसर होता ही नहीं है, बिकॉज दिस इज ऑल इंटेलिजेंस राइट नाउ. उसके बाद आप उसका बताओगे कि यू विल सब्सटैंशिएट इट विद अदर फैक्ट्स, अदर फाइंडिंग्स, एंड से कि अब मैं कॉन्फिडेंटली बोल सकता हूँ दिस वाज अ रेड फ्लैग. हाँ जी, ओवरड्यू एडवांसेस. ठीक है, और बताओ. सब सो जाओगे लेफ्ट में. बताओ बताओ, मैं कह रही ना रॉन्ग और राइट आंसर है ही नहीं इसका. आप बिंदास बोलो, जो आपके दिमाग में आ रहा है वो आप बोलो. Yeah, there's an open deviation. So the platform, which is an intelligence platform, has flagged this as a red flag. इसने बोला ये ट्रांजैक्शन में कुछ गड़बड़ है. There's a lot of intelligence which I put into the trade data system, and the system is thrown this red alert to me that there is an alert. Now, why has this red alert come? A human eye would have missed it, because, and so that it doesn't get missed, we are using systems and processes nowadays. Sorry? Nobody can say the difference. Could you be louder? I'm sorry. Yes, yes, absolutely. I think everybody should give him a clap. हाँ, एक चीज़ आप देखिए. What is the commodity code on which the transaction is processed? It says tires. ठीक है ना? Tire. HSN या जो भी आप बोलो. This is the code that he has used. What is his nature of business? Abhi, can you draw a relationship between the two things? You can really not draw a relationship between the two things, right? So sometimes the HSN code, in fact we use HSN code very extensively, because all this dual use, control goods, sanction evasion happens based on the HSN code only. वहीं से हमारी studies चालू होती है. So this is very, very important for you to analyze, to understand what is the business he's doing, how he's classified it, what are the products he's dealing with, and then what is he trading, whom is he trading with, who are his partners, who are the third parties whom he's dealing with, and then you start analyzing all these documents. I'll tell you one thing now today, AI is being used so extensively that if I have to generate an invoice, I give ChatGPT an invoice. I give ChatGPT a prompt saying, generate an invoice that I am exporting value of calculators X or value of mobiles X number, and arrive at the unit price. Okay. Now, if somebody has used, and we do this course also on open source intelligence, how you can make out if this invoice is being generated using AI or it's a deep fake. So we also talk about all these tools and we train people on all of these. But some things which AI does not take care of, I will tell you. Very, very small things. Okay, for example, I am exporting mobiles. मैंने ChatGPT को prompt दिया कि उसकी value आप लिख दो 1 lakhs, okay, और आप उसका price लिख दो 23,000 for example. Okay, जब आपने divide करा तो आपके यूनिट्स आए डेसिमल नंबर से. अभी ये तो जो मैंने कमोडिटी एक्सपोर्ट करी है ये तो डेसिमल्स में आ ही नहीं सकती है. आप मोबाइल को तोड़ के तो एक्सपोर्ट नहीं करोगे. लेकिन क्या होता है ना, दैट रिलायंस ऑन टेक्नोलॉजी, सी द फ्रॉडस्टर इज़ वेरी शॉर्ट ऑफ टाइम ऑल्सो. इज़ एन अर्जेंसी, ही इज़ रियली शॉर्ट ऑफ टाइम. उसको बहुत सारी चीज़ें करनी है इतने टाइम में. वो बैठ कर एक इन्वॉइस नहीं करेगा. ही विल यूज़ ChatGPT, फटाफट इन्वॉइस करा, उसको आपके फाइल में डाल दिया. आप उससे इतना ही, आपने अगर अपनी आँख से ये देख लिया ना कि ये यूनिट कैसे 2.5 दिखा रहा है, तो ही वो वहीं पर डगमगा जाएगा. बिकॉज ही इज़ नॉट सीन दैट. ही इज़ जस्ट यूज्ड AI फॉर जनरेटिंग अ लॉट ऑफ दीज थिंग्स. सो दिस इज़ जस्ट वन स्मॉल एग्जाम्पल. मे नॉट बी अ वेरी ग्रेट एग्जाम्पल ऑल्सो, बट आई एम जस्ट टेलिंग यू दैट दिस इज़ हाउ ह्यूमन इंटेलिजेंस कैन नेवर बी डन अवे विथ, नो मैटर वॉट एवर कम्स. Because your eye will catch it. ChatGPT doesn't know that a mobile cannot be exported in decimals. It has to be a whole number. इतना intelligence नहीं है उसमें अभी. So there are a lot of such things which you'll be able to catch and gather. And apart from this, when you start looking at all these fields, all the information that is furnished, there's a lot that each of these documents speaks. So do look at all these things when you're doing your kind of audit work, depending on what your scope and what your objective is. Now, one very, very important thing, and I will tell you this from experiences, understand, and again I would emphasize on this, is understand the business rationale. आपने ये कंपनी इनकॉर्पोरेट करी है इस जगह पे क्यों? अभी वो जनरली आपको क्या बोलेगा वो क्यों के लिए? टैक्स प्लानिंग, राइट? टैक्स अवॉइडेंस, वो तो हमारी खासियत है, दैट्स व्हाई चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स आर इन बिजनेस, because we know how to do tax avoidance, and tax avoidance is legit. Okay, what is not legit? Evasion. And there is a very thin line of distinction between tax avoidance and tax evasion, and the kind of innovation that can be there to cross this line is immense. Immense is not the word, believe me when I say it. Okay, so these are the common tax havens that you must have heard of. Cayman आपने सुन लिया, Switzerland सुन लिया, Luxembourg सुन लिया, British Virgin Islands सुन लिया. In US, have you seen a lot of the companies which are formed in US? Where are they registered? Anybody? Panama, yes. St. Kitts, yes. Delaware देखा है? Delaware में आधी से ज़्यादा कंपनी वहीं पे रजिस्टर्ड होंगी. Delaware, Wyoming, Nevada, all of this. तो US जो कहता है ना, we are doing so much of policing, yeah, imposing so many sanctions. Can't even abuse them right now. They are only housing a lot of these things. उनके states में ही there's so much of arbitrage. I will definitely want to set up my company in UAE. And UAE में भी आपको पता है, UAE is made of how many Emirates? 7, right? That's why my geography knowledge is now coming to use. So मुझे अच्छा लग रहा है, मैंने geography पढ़ी. And आपको पता है अबू धाबी और दुबई में ही बहुत फाइट चलती रहती है in terms of who wants to become bigger than the other, right? Both of the sultans are fighting amongst themselves. तो अभी क्या करते हैं, दुबई में आपको ये leverage नहीं मिल रही है ना, आपको ये टैक्स बेनिफिट नहीं मिल रहा है, आपको रेगुलेटरी इतनी सारी चीज़ें फाइल करनी है, यही आपको रजिस्टर में लगाना है. कोई बात नहीं, दुबई में ऑफिस मत खोलो, आप आबू धाबी में आके खोल लो. आई एम ऑल्सो हैप्पी. कोई मुझे आज बोलेगा 5 मिनट्स में आपको कंपनी खोल के देता हूँ, आप कंपनी खोलोगे या नहीं खोलोगे? खोलोगे, राइट? आप खोलोगे क्योंकि यू रिक्वायर मिनिमम डिस्क्लोजर्स टू बी मेड. यू आर गेटिंग सम टैक्स बेनिफिट्स. You don't need to file, that many number of reports. So there's a regulatory arbitrage. There's a lot of minimum disclosures that you need to make. I'm happy. क्यों नहीं करूँगी मैं? Okay, and it is the best way for me to do all this halla gulla that I want to do, all the manipulations that I'm thinking of in my head. सबसे अच्छा है कोई पकड़ेगा ही नहीं, क्योंकि पकड़ता कौन है आपको? उसका रेगुलेटर. अभी रेगुलेटर ही नहीं मांग रहा ये इन्फॉर्मेशन, तो मेरे लिए तो अच्छी बात है. So always look, if I am not doing business from India, I am doing business from this XYZ place, whether there is a business rationale for it. Yes, there could be a business rationale. Maybe a lot of my work is based out of Dubai. I am deploying people in Dubai. My products are being sold in Dubai. Why should I not have a company there? Why should I not take advantage of the tax benefits? But if there is no rationale, it is just a shell company that I formed there, only for routing and rerouting my transactions, then I definitely have something else up my mind. It is 100% indicator of that. 100% indicator of that. Okay, and I'm telling you, there are 32 special SEZs in Dubai. Okay, अगर आप रज़ाइल खामा में जाके फॉर्म करोगे ना कंपनी, 2 मिनट में हो जाएगी कंपनी. Only cost that you have to pay. And we the say in financial crime, this is the cost of doing crime. मुझे 2 लाख रुपये पे करना पड़ता है वहाँ पे अपनी कंपनी मेंटेन करने के लिए, in terms of appointing somebody to file your returns and all that, because that's mandatory, right? And the registration charges that you need to pay, that is mandatory. So okay, I factor it, I bill it into the cost of my doing crime. I'm generating huge amount of money. What is 2 lakh rupees for me to incorporate a company in Razile Khama and keep it? I can do all the hanky. So don't take anybody on face value. If anybody has said that we have formed this company and this is the way we are routing the transaction, the billing is being done from there, only to do tax structuring, okay? It is not tax structuring, look beyond it. It could definitely be evasion. And when there is evasion, there's a lot of mix in terms of who is the payment being done to, who is the beneficiary, is it going for terrorist financing, is it going for illicit activities, okay? All the money, nobody talked about anti-money laundering till when? Does anybody know? ये anti-money laundering का term सब कब से बोलने लगे? Any guess? After the September 11 attacks which happened in US. After the September 11 attacks happened in US, it was an eye-opener for people to know. हमें क्या लगता है कि टेररिस्ट फाइनेंसिंग में बहुत पैसा लगता है, टेररिस्ट को बहुत पैसा चाहिए, टेररिस्ट को ज़्यादा पैसा नहीं चाहिए. 80 lakhs to 1 crore में he can आराम से do his काम. जो intended, of course not at the scale of what happened in September 11, but all this money gets laundered through NGOs. NGO is one of the biggest shell framework that is there. Okay, it's completely sham in most of the cases. So again, where are these NGOs established? Whom are they dealing with? Where is this money going? Because all the money that is going into terrorist financing is coming through anti-money laundering techniques only, which is being formed through all the formation of such companies, which are happening without any business rationale. So please keep your eye on, and these are also called high-risk jurisdictions, okay? Or they are called, kind of secrecy heavens or tax heavens, whatever you may call. But the minute it comes to you that I have a company incorporated in any of these places, which are tax havens, and if you also look at the link that I've provided here, which is highlighted, so I have a portal called FinCrime Expert. If you go to FinCrime Expert, we have a section where there are useful reads and resources. You will get a list and you can download that list of all the high-risk jurisdictions and why it's important to know that these are high-risk jurisdictions. So except for the common names which you are seeing here, there are many more in the list. So for you to have this awareness is very, very important, because only then आपकी ना वो पत्ती चलेगी क्योंकि भाई मैं सोचूं देखूं कि हो रहा क्या है, कर रहा क्या है ये आदमी. Okay, so this is one of the things. And again, just like what I said, so why are shell companies created? Ownership concealment, for sure, facilitating money laundering, tax evasion, evading sanctions, and engaging in fraud. Multiple times this has happened. There's again a line of distinction between shell companies and shelf companies. Anybody can tell me what are shelf companies? एक तो हो गया shell, which is SHELL. एक हो गया shelf. Sorry? Own fund company, वो तो shell company भी हो सकती है. Yeah, that's right. So somebody else has incorporated that company 10 years, 15 years back. There were no transactions being done on it. But you know how the requirements are now, that more than 5-year-old company, it wins the trust for you, right? I'm a 20-year-old company, I'm a 30-year-old company. It was a paper company which was formed so many years back and kept. I bought off that company and now I'm doing some other work in this. Suddenly that company has become active because Pallavi is invested into that company. What was my intent? My intent was to win your confidence, right? आप बोलोगे यार 20-year-old company है, इसमें कहाँ से fraud होगा? Right? That's a shelf company. So it's had a huge shelf life. And that's why we are calling it a shelf company. Every shelf company may not be a shell company, but many shelf companies will be shell companies. Okay? So always remember. That's why I am saying जो आपको बताया जा रहा है ना, मतलब if you are in this domain of forensic, अभी तो मेरी ऐसी हालत होती है कि मैं कोई चीज़ सीधे देख ही नहीं सकती हूँ. Literally you start thinking in too many other directions. You know? Like to an extent, if my daughter calls up and says, "Mummy, कितनी देर में घर आ रही हो?" तो मुझे पता चलेगा कि अरे ये पढ़ाई नहीं कर रही होगी, she must be squeezing out, या ये पिक्चर देख रही होगी, इसीलिए इसने मुझे फ़ोन करके पूछा है कि आप कितने बजे आ रही हो. मतलब ऐसे दिमाग चलने लगा है अभी. So it is thanks to this domain. तो आपका दिमाग ऐसे ही चलना चाहिए. ये शेल्फ कंपनी क्यों है, इसमें सडनली काम क्यों चालू हो गया, इतने सालों से तो काम नहीं हो रहा था, और कौन इस कंपनी को यूज़ कर रहा है और वो क्यों यूज़ कर रहा है. इन टुडेज टाइम व्हेन इनकॉर्पोरेटिंग अ न्यू कंपनी इज सो डैम इजी, व्हाई इज ही बाइंग अ शेल्फ कंपनी? ही वुड हैव पेड दैट गाय फॉर मेंटेनिंग दैट कंपनी फॉर द लास्ट 20 years, राइट? सम बक्स. ऐसे फ्री में तो कोई अपनी कंपनी नहीं दे देगा. जैसे आपने डोमेन रजिस्टर करके रखा हुआ है, आप वो डोमेन को प्रीमियम प्राइस पर ही बेचोगे, राइट? तो अगर मैंने वो कंपनी खरीदी है तो उसके बिहाइंड भी कुछ ना कुछ होएगा रीज़न. So this is what it is all about. And one of the biggest things, high risk industries. Now why am I emphasizing on, I talked about high risk jurisdictions. Okay, now forget high risk jurisdictions. I will tell you, if you're doing an audit of any high risk business, be on high alert. Anybody can tell me what is the reason. And all these things that you can see on the board, can anybody say what are the commonalities? What is the common element? Black money? Huge fund can be transferred. और बताओ? Bank on. Absolutely. क्या होता है ना, ये सब जो प्रोडक्ट्स इनके यूज़ होते हैं, फॉर एग्जाम्पल आर्ट, मैंने आज एक पेंटिंग बना दी, आई एम सेलिंग इट फॉर 10 लाख रुपीज़, कैन यू चैलेंज इट? यूल से इस पेंटिंग में क्या था, मेरा 8 साल का बच्चा बना सकता था. वुड यू नॉट समटाइम्स, डोंट वी से दैट? इस पेंटिंग में क्या था, पर मैं 10 लाख रुपए में बेच रही हूँ, आपको खरीदनी है तो आप खरीदो. और जो आदमी खरीदेगा भी ना, मैं आपको बता रही हूँ, वो भी बहुत हाई प्रोफाइल होएगा. आई हैव अ टेस्ट फॉर दिस, I have done my study, and this is the way this painting was formed and kept, and it was baked, and these paints were used, and I don't know what all. मैं तो paintings, I mean, I love to paint, but I've never ever invested in a painting. But there's so much of high profiling that is done. You know that all that showbiz that happens right around it. So the reason is that you can never determine what is the value of these products. Diamonds, which I spoke about earlier, painting being one of the ones. Now precious metals, 99%, 10%. Scrap is the biggest high risk business. आप कितने में किस चीज़ को बेच रहे हो आपको कभी पता ही नहीं चलेगा. वो कहेगा नहीं इस इंडस्ट्री में ये स्क्रैप की वैल्यू तो बहुत ज़्यादा थी, बिकॉज दिस इज सपोज टू बी वन ऑफ द रॉ मटेरियल्स फॉर दिस इंडस्ट्री. देयर इज अ स्टोरी. सी every fraudster, every trickster is very good at storytelling. He has rehearsed the story 10 times in his mind. कोई ऐसे ही फ्रॉड नहीं करेगा. सबसे हाई IQ फ्रॉडस्टर की होती है, ना ही चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट की है, ना ही IITN की है, किसी की भी नहीं है. सबसे हाईएस्ट IQ है फ्रॉडस्टर की. ये चीज़ समझ लो आप, ओके. और एंड व्हाट डज ही प्ले ऑन? हाँ, नहीं सिखाता नहीं है ना. दिस इज योर जॉब नाउ. सी, दिस इज अ जॉब प्रोफाइल. The smarter you are, the bigger bucks you have. Not practical experience, you do your study well. They do their study better than us also. And by Indians ना, हम लोग तो जुगाड़ू है by birth. हम हर चीज़ में जुगाड़ करते हैं. अभी level of जुगाड़ has just increasing day by day. The greed, the desire to live a luxurious lifestyle is much more than what it was earlier. Earlier, I was happy having a Fiat and an Ambassador in the house. Am I today happy with that? No. Question is no. Right? मैं बच्चा बैठेगा ही नहीं मारुति में तो आजकल. हमारी तो बात ही भूल जाओ. They are born with entitlements, right? So that's the reason that people have become so innovative. And the more innovative that they've become, the better they become at storytelling. And they are playing on your emotions. जब आप auditor हो ना, that you will see that the person knows, अच्छा आपको तो आज they'll try to have an emotional connect with you. See, आप जितने भी frauds हो रहे हैं, आप अगर कभी भी analyze करोगे, all of them are playing on your emotions. Either वो आपको tension create कर रहे हो, urgency, अभी की अभी करो नहीं तो ये offer valid नहीं है, आपका बच्चा गिर गया है जल्दी से स्कूल आओ नहीं तो ये हो जाएगा. Urgency, they don't let you think. The minute they let you think, they will not be able to do the fraud. You're under digital arrest. You cannot even go to your washroom. They are playing on your mind. They are not playing on your intelligence. They are playing on your emotions. Urgency, greed. आपको UAE में इतने पैसे का जॉब मिल रहा है, आपको घर पे बैठ के काम करना है. Whatever, right? Convenience, your greed. So they are playing on your emotions, not on your IQ. They are using their IQ to play on your EQ. So that's the way I say. Anyway, so coming back to this, and sorry I was getting a little listening. So all these things, as she rightly said, gaming, which has been banned now, again, because you can't even know what a person is betting, there's no limit on it, how much of money is flowing, and gaming industry for 100% was being used to launder a lot of money. More than anything else, it was used huge way in laundering money, huge way. So apart from the logic that they've given that why gaming has been banned, okay, it's playing on your on yourself, your people are losing heavy money and all, a lot of money, the real story is that a lot of money was being laundered through this route, क्योंकि इस पता ही नहीं ना कितना मैं हारी कितना नहीं हारी, right? All these figures can be easily, so that's why we call these high risk industries. So whenever you're doing any audit pertaining to an high risk industry or an high-risk jurisdiction, be on alert. Basic thing, okay? And now when we start coming to documentation, okay? So now, when you start doing your documentation, as I mentioned in the very start documenting every finding that you're coming across, right? And there could be so many small things which might reveal certain, which might arouse your curiosity, or which might just reveal that this is not a very professional way of working. For example, I was dealing with a private equity fund, okay? And I'm telling you how I became what I am today, from a chartered accountant to an investment banker to a financial crime expert, is because ये मेरे साथ खुद हुआ था. Okay, I was dealing with a company which was, I was into investment banking, so I was getting private equity funding from a company, and this was like 10 years back. And I was interacting with multiple people in that private equity fund. And they were investing a huge amount for my client in his project. And I was only doing the due diligence, giving all the projections and everything for my client. For 7 months, every day we used to exchange mails. Every day they used to ask me for some information. Some questions used to come through mails. And I used to reply to those emails. Sab kuch, you know, as you are an investment banker, your projections, all your workings are completely synced. But if a person is so genuine, and that's how I could feel that that investor is so genuine, because मैंने ये information provide करी, if somebody is questioning me and saying, please provide this also, please provide this, आप provide करोगे या नहीं provide करोगे? आप provide करोगे, right? And आपको ये लगेगा कि ये genuine है, क्योंकि नहीं तो 6-7 महीने तक कौन आपको बात करता आपके साथ, इतना effort कौन put करता? Okay, what happened, you know, after 6-7 months? After 6-7 months, they told me, we were just about to sign the the investment agreement the next day. And एक दिन पहले वो लोग हमसे बोलते हैं that you need to pay a 2.5% due diligence fees for the due diligence that we have done. Okay? So the question was that why was this not told to us earlier? Why is it coming at this stage? So they said, no, this is something which is a norm of the industry, and this is something which always happens. The due diligence cost has to be borne by the investee. The investor does not bear this cost. Okay? Now, the client whom I'm dealing with, for me, it was an alert that there is something wrong, because it was never told to me earlier. I had never even heard that there is a fees or any amount that I'm supposed to be paying, basis which that X amount will be given to me for investment. Was never ever mentioned. So I said, okay, let us think about it. They said, aaj ki aaj karo, kyunki tomorrow we have to sign the documents. So you'll have to transfer that amount today. And they know that the company whom I'm advising for is a very, very big company for whom this kind of money is easily available and they can transfer it. I told my client, please hang on. Let's just understand why this money is being asked at this stage, okay? My client being as big as he is, he said, nothing doing. You want to be associated with this deal or not, it's up to you. We'll pay you your advisory fees. We will transfer this money. It's peanuts compared to the $1 million that we are getting from that company as an investment, okay? Because that urgency was already created by them that, you know, we are going to be traveling after this. And of course, everything was like they have global transactions. They are doing so many things. And for me, whenever I was replying to a mail, you will not believe that all these crimes are so organized crimes. I had a full hierarchy. कि इसको mail लिखनी है financial analysis के लिए, so I have to mark this person with a CC to this person, with a BCC to this person. There was a full hierarchy which was given to me. If I have to give anything on the project, any information regarding the project, it needs to be marked to so and so people, but it was completely flawless. I mean, we were 7 to 8 people working on these transactions, most of us being chartered accountants. There was not an iota of doubt ever. मतलब रोज मेरा यही काम होता था कि आज कौन सी क्वेरी आने वाली है और आज मुझे क्या रिप्लाई करना है. Okay? Now imagine after 7 months, after all your sweat is gone into this transaction, somebody is asking you to pay an amount. So you said, चल यार देखते हैं, पे तो कर देते हैं, फिर देखेंगे क्या होता है. But we said, at least hold on ना, एकदम से क्यों आ गया ये, और वो भी एक दिन पहले ही. Okay? Now for something, and I always thank God for this, that my client did not transfer the money to them. And within a week, we came to know this is a completely sham transaction. After we had transferred this money, वो person का phone भी नहीं उठाता, because we had met these investors, and luckily when we had met them with another company which had come from Australia also, where they were investing in Australia because it was a global investor. Okay, and that guy happened to call us in this interim period of 1 week, and he said that I have transferred this due diligence fees, and after that no mail is coming through, no phones are ringing, nothing, they have disappeared. They have disappeared. अब आप ये सोचो 2% उसने 10 जगहों से इकट्ठा कर लिया. It's a huge amount of money. And I'm telling you, the fraudster was an investment banker. मतलब मैं तो आज तक उसके पीछे पड़ी हुई हूँ कि वो है कहाँ. Because इतना सारा तो questions मुझसे कोई पूछ नहीं सकता था अगर वो उसने investment banking नहीं करी होती. मैं कोई बेवकूफ़ थोड़ी ना बैठी हूँ यहाँ पे कि मुझे पता ही नहीं चला कि ये इतना बड़ा फ्रॉड हो रहा है. और अगर मेरे क्लाइंट ने वो ड्यू डिलिजेंस फीस पे करती होती ना तो पता नहीं. एंड आफ्टर अ मंथ पास्ड अवे. यस, no, I just told him to hold back because there was no due diligence fees that was ever mentioned to us. So it was never mentioned, right? I'm not interacting with this person over 5 or 6 weeks. I've been speaking to this person over 6 to 7 months. I went through all the documentations, all the conversations which we had ever had in the past. I mean, me in the sense, the entire team. We raised our minds कि हमें तो कभी इसने ऐसा बोला ही नहीं था that we know that there's a due diligence going on, there's a financial due diligence, legal due diligence, everything is going on. He should have told me that this cost has to be borne by you. I would at least know what is the estimated cost of it, right? It was not mentioned in that. We went back, we read every line, we read in between the lines, we read everything. कि भाई कहीं तो mention होएगा ना, directly, indirectly कहीं तो होगा. See, because I also cannot have such a big stake कि मैं इतनी बड़ी company को कह रही हूँ कि आप investment hold पे रखो. And I was only trying to buy 2-3 days, honestly. वो हो सकता था कि एक हफ्ते के बाद if I did not find anything तो मैं in desperation or under the pressure of my client, I would have transferred that money. हो सकता था. उस समय आपका दिमाग कैसे चलता है, you don't know. Because after 7 months, and मैंने तो already ना, I as an investment banker, I was happy I'm doing such a big deal. मेरी भी तो revenue थी ना उस deal में से. I also had a revenue, right? For 7 months, I'm working only on one deal, day in and day out. So I also have a cost associated to it. I don't know it's a sham transaction. And ये तो हो गया. I'll tell you how things can backfire in life. After 1 month, my client, rather than thanking me that, okay, you guys saved my money from going into this, he's telling me that I'm going to do a case on you that you did not do due diligence of this private equity investor. आपको पता ही नहीं था कि funds कहाँ से आ रहे हैं. And believe me, when we had met this investor, when this entire conversation had kick-started, all of us were into it. My client had also met the investors. Every person we had met, all the correspondence was marked to them. All the due diligence was done to them. And that time, nobody was questioning the color of money ever, 15 years back. Nobody was questioning the color of money. पैसा इंडिया में आ रहा है, मेरे पास आ रहा है, I am happy. कौन सा कहाँ से पैसा आ रहा है वो मुझे कुछ मतलब ही नहीं है. I am getting my fees, he is getting his money, both of us are happy. So this was the trigger. And the reason I am sharing this trigger with you is that afterwards, when I started doing, that there were so many people in this organization whom I was writing mails to. तो ये सब लोग कौन थे? Okay? Can you believe it? All the mails were coming to me from one single IP address. You know how to see an IP address? Please learn it. It's very simple in today's term. There's an open source intelligence tool also. You can make out. मतलब एक ही आदमी 10 ईमेल अकाउंट से अलग अलग मुझे मेल्स भेज रहा था. So everything was coming from one laptop, literally. So there was no investment also done. ऐसा नहीं है कि 10 लोग बैठे हुए थे, 10 लैपटॉप थे. इतना भी उसने इन्वेस्ट नहीं करा था मुझे बेवकूफ़ करने में, बनाने में. Literally, okay? Then second thing that I did, all the people whom I was interacting with me, कहीं ना कहीं उसका social media profile तो होएगा. That time, see, this was almost 15 years back. So that time there was nobody who had LinkedIn profiles. There were few. Had Facebook profiles. There were many. So I started thinking that are all these people whom I was interacting with and marking mails, they were there somewhere or the other on social media. Somewhere their names would have been displayed. Except for their website, I could not find their names anywhere in social media. Now see, this is all reactive, not proactive. But I'm telling you that you can be proactive. The reason is that if I'm a person who is into a business where there's a lot of fame, I for sure will have an Insta handle, I'll have a LinkedIn presence. I'll have that because that's my business. If I'm not on social media, I can't be into these businesses. Okay? On my website तो मैं नाम सभी लिख लेते हैं. Website बनाने में तो आजकल कितना time लगता है. Okay? But apart from my website, are there other sources where you can get this information? Yes, you can get a lot of information about a person. I am told you I am Pallavi Ajmera and I am from so-and-so background, I am a chartered accountant. Before investing your time in this session, how many of you all have gone and seen my LinkedIn profile or my social media profile? Except for him, nobody else. अरे ये तो सोचो कि मैं अपने 2 घंटे जिसको सुनने के लिए दे रहा हूँ वो है कौन? I'm investing time. In today's time, time is money. Have you even done your due diligence before coming for this session? No. 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 मतलब मैं आपसे सिर्फ ऐसे ही बोल रही हूँ. आप कितने सेशन में जाके रिसर्च करते हो? चलिए ये तो आपका पॉइंट था. अभी मैं आपको कहीं और मिलूंगी किसी और में WIRC के सिवाय. But I'm just telling you, don't take anybody at face value. There is so much information that is available about a person on social media that you can actually gauge the person's profile. Actually gauge what you're in for. And please leverage it. In my time it was not there, so I got fooled. I did a reactive assessment of all this when I came to know about all this. Okay, so now my time is going to go. There'll always be a mismatch between the activities and the addresses. There'll be a lot of cases we've also seen that their turnover is more than 40 lakhs, लेकिन GST registration ही नहीं है. Okay? Again, are you into genuine business or not? Okay, why is this kind of lax behavior? Is it justifiable, not justifiable? Okay, address indicates that the business is situated in a residential apartment. I'm doing crores of turnover. Can I not afford an office in a proper place, like a BKC, if I have an excellent turnover? Possibly it's again a sham company which is not doing anything much. Okay, and I'll tell you one more typology, that when I went to visit this company, that time when I went to visit this company in Mauritius, they had the WeWork type of a format. तो जब मैंने एंटर करा तो वहाँ पे बाहर पे आपको कंपनी का नाम नहीं दिखेगा. When you go inside, you can't come to know कि ये कंपनी के खुद के एम्प्लॉयज़ कितने हैं और कलेक्टिवली और कितने लोग यहाँ पे बैठे हुए हैं. There's no demarcation done, right? And that was a new international concept. It had not come to India. WeWorks was not there in India that time. So when you first enter such an office, you think, oh, so many people are sitting and working for him, you know, right? You get a good impression, a good feel about everything. So that's the impression I got. After that, I came to know it was a shared working station. He had just one desk there in that unit, which after taking all the money would have again changed to some other business unit. पर वो तो मुझे पता ही नहीं था, क्योंकि मुझे तो कभी ये देखा ही नहीं था कि ये concept भी है दुनिया में, that there's a shared workspace. I had not heard of it. Many of us had not heard of it. So when you enter his office, you see, wow, so well equipped, so many people working. Then he'll say, these are so many chartered accountants sitting there across that table and so many there. Oh wow, you know, that's how they build their profile. आप थोड़ी ना जाके उसकी desk पे बात करोगे. Are you working for this company? Will you do that? So that's why. Where is this business located? Is it working out of a shared space? When I'm saying I have 800 employees, then why would I work in a shared space? I would have my own office. Why would I work from a residential building? I would have an office in BKC. Bank account is opened or maintained in a branch far from the place. We've seen many such cases also. The reason is that I could have banked at ICICI Bank or at Bank of India, this branch, but I know that they ask me too many questions and the person who's sitting there is just too smart. Okay, so I will go and I'll bank at an other branch which is far away, where the due diligence or the KYC documentation is much easier for me to do and to get away with. You know, I know that I can develop a rapport, and we have seen this in Axis Bank fraud, that there was a girl who was doing this opening accounts day in and day out. So the fraudster only deployed one person from their team in the bank who actually did all of this. So there are so many such things that you can gather. Secondly, a very small capital structure. A lot of companies, you will see that the authorized capital is very high, but the paid up capital is just 1 lakh rupees. Okay, it's questionable. a lot of accounts, you will see there's a lot of account takeover that is done. For example, I don't know how many of you all have heard about Money Mules, but it's in the news every second day. And I'm using your account to transfer money to him. Okay? Now, how do you identify, for example, a Money Mule account or an account takeover? So suppose somebody's taken an account over to me, he's transferred an X amount to me. And tomorrow, after netting off my commission, he has transferred that money out of my account. So if this is a pattern which is happening every day, and you can see that the inflow is equal to the outflow more or less, and at the end of the day, everything is netted, it is definitely a red flag. आप मुझे most of the cases में. Yeah, these are rented accounts. That's what I'm saying. Like a Money Mule account is a rented account. So see, there could be multiple such structures that are used, and that's what I told you, that there's a lot of structuring that can be used around it. But it definitely is a red flag. देखो, these are all intelligences that you're gathering. अभी मैंने पहले ही बोला था ना, this is intelligence that you gather. फिर उसके बाद आप सोचने लगोगे how to substantiate this intelligence. Let me find out more facts. And then you will start understanding this intelligence is important, relevant to my case, and can serve as evidence in the court. And that's how you start filing your report. So these are all stages. But whatever your findings are, start noting them down from day one. Then start building upon each of the findings. Look at the source of your information. What is the source? Even if you're taking social media as your source, it's a valid source in the court. You know, income tax authorities are seeing mismatch in profiles on the internet. They're saying if this person is earning a salary of 5 lakh but going for 5 vacations in a year, foreign vacations, then there's a mismatch in his profile. How can he afford it? So even income tax authorities nowadays are using social media. You can definitely use social media. You should use, see, we all have access to MCA. MCA से आपको पता चल जाता है दिन. Right? You can come to know कि कौन-कौन directors है उस company के. आपको पता चल जाता है if there's a frequent change in the directors. Is it a red flag or not? It could be a red flag. Maybe people are not sticking on because he has, smelling something that is fishy in the company. That could be a red flag. But apart from that, now to substantiate that, there's a lot of information that you can gather from open source. When I say open source, I say internet. You do, and there are a lot of tools and techniques, and I hope one day I can do a workshop on that also. In fact, at my company, we organize workshops on that. But I've never done one for the CA Institute. I've been doing it a lot of times otherwise, where we actually tell you how to use these tools to gather information from the internet. What is happening on the dark web, what is happening on the surface net, what is happening here, and how that intelligence can then be used as evidence to substantiate your findings. So there's a lot of things that you can do. You can have access to a lot of regulatory databases. There are a lot of fintech companies which have come which give you a lot of information. ChatGPT gives you a lot of information. You can start gathering all this information. And जैसे वो jigsaw puzzle होती है ना, that's the way you need to then start fitting one to the other. Connect the dots. Connect this to that, this to that, this to that. And that's when your entire mind mapping will help. When you start connecting things, you will start understanding. Why was this happening? Why was this? Oh, so this was happening, so this happened because of that. You'll be able to contextualize. So one is your source. Is it a valid source? Which is very important. I'll tell you one more small thing. Like a lot of times what we do is that we save we save the URL address. Right? So we say, so suppose I've got some findings and on this site this information was being displayed. We put it as a part of our report. Okay, tomorrow for some reason maybe that link is not working, but you've already put it as a part of your report. When you click on that, when you hyperlink it, or when you click on that, that link may no longer be valid. And whatever intelligence you had gathered from that link now is not available for reviewing. So take a screenshot of it. Use an expert so that you can archive that data and keep it. These are very important. You know, FAIS 230 says use an expert. So a lot of these findings, you need to capture them. You need to capture images, you need to capture this data, all these links, and keep it with you. Because tomorrow when you are starting doing your conclusions, you will have to say that my source was this. Right? And वो source ही नहीं exist होएगा तो फिर आप कैसे prove करोगे आपका point? Then again you will have to start doing your search. So once when you're doing your search, start documenting. And I've kept this session very practical. I'm not talking about what FAIS is saying, what are the standards, etc. Because all that you all can read. If you all are interested, you all will read. It says how everything needs to be documented. What is the process for gathering, what is ethical, what is not ethical, all of that is mentioned. But this is something which is very, very practical. Okay, and I hope I've not missed anything. So that's the one why I wrote bank account at the end of day is very negligible or almost nil in most of the accounts, which is a typical case of a money mule or an account takeover. Address indicates that the unit of business is situated in a residential apartment. I mean, I've just written upper floor because generally on the ground floor, you know, there might be parking lots or other businesses. So just mentioned it. Not that upper floor, I mean, any of the floors. So that's what I would mean. Just given it as, yeah. मतलब आप ये देखो कि किस टाइप का बिजनेस है और वो इस टाइप का इतना अच्छा बिजनेस है तो वो इस तरीके से क्यों कंडक्ट हो रहा है. Why couldn't it be a grander format layout? And if see how was Satyam fraud happened. In Satyam fraud there were ghost employees. आपने सुना होगा ना? Ghost employees थे. They said that there were so many people working, but there were not so many people working. And in today's time, all the more it's important because nobody has the time. Even the banks are not doing so much of a physical verification as much as they need to do. And they are doing physical verification by sending a lot of outsourced work, like a lot of outsourced third-party agents. और आप जाके वहाँ पे verification कर लो. अभी वो बंदा तो smart है, उसको 20 चीज़ें cover करनी है to show that he's visited 20 places. वो क्या करता है, ऐसे ही बाहर अपने पान वाले के पास जाके फ़ोटो खींच लेता है, ये बिल्डिंग में मैंने जाके ये कर लिया. You know what we do for that in open source? We do meta tagging, geolocation tracking. कि ये पिक्चर ये डिवाइस से इस टाइम पे यहाँ पे क्लिक हुई थी, तो we remove the metadata to understand whether this picture that he clicked was genuine. Was he at this plate, at this longitude, latitude, at the set time? Yes or no? So this is the geotagging that we do now in financial crime. And that's why how we conclude if the physical verification was done or was not done. Which was a device which he was clicking with. In fact, a lot of the things have to be time-stamped. Okay? Now, for example, he had time-stamped this and we came to know in the geolocation that he was not at this place at this time, and at the background, the lighting was after sunset. So very evidently we could say that he has not been to this place because जो उसने picture खींची है, we could make out it was by the mobile light and not by the natural lighting at this point in time. So time stamping is again very, very important. You know, it helps you to know, okay, what was the journey of that person, कहाँ कहाँ वो गया था, क्या क्या करा था. And all of this exercise we do actually when we are trying to authenticate anything that has been disclosed to us. So again, I would like to mention documentation shall be done from the very start. Documentation, numbering, indexing, hyperlinking and cross-referencing is of immense importance. Always cross-reference that this is from this is derived from this source, this is derived from that source. No tipping off should be done. Use explanatory graphics, timelines, flowcharts to not be repetitive in your reports. A lot of times we think that if you want to emphasize on something, let us repeat it again and again and again. Do not do that. As a best practice, ज़रूरत ही नहीं है. Don't let your own bias come into the report. The minute you start doing a repetition or you start making your report biased, it becomes one-sided, it becomes close-ended. See, a lot of the times, your conclusions may not be the right conclusions or the only conclusions, right? You are giving an opinion. आपके हिसाब से ऐसा ऐसा हुआ है. So keep it a little open-ended. Do not harp on anything by highlighting it, repeating it, or putting your own judgment into it. Let the judgment come from the person who is using the report, whether it is a law enforcement agency or the person who has appointed you. Do not let your own bias enter into it. Then maintain your master work paper index. Where is your digital evidence? And digital evidence for forensic software, please use an expert because your chain of custody is very, very important. How you maintain all that evidence, which are the hands that it passes through, who has access to that evidence so that it is not tampered with. If it is tampered with, you will be at a loss. आपका जितना भी काम है वो सब बेकार हो जाएगा. To an extent, how many of you all have heard about hashtag values? Quite a few of you. So what is the purpose of an hashtag value? Whenever you are saving a document, at the back end, then a hashtag value of the document gets generated. Now, if anybody tampers that document, and forget tampering that document, in fact, even if I insert a full stop or a space in that document, the hash value of that document will change. आप कुछ भी कर लो, technically, the hash value of that document will change, and this will show that somebody has opened that document and made changes. I'm not saying कि right change या wrong change, वो तो मैं debate ही नहीं कर रही हूँ. But I'm saying that my chain of custody has been breached because the hash value of my document has changed. That's it. क्या change करा है, क्या नहीं करा है, वो तो दूसरी बात है. क्यों करना चाहिए था, नहीं करना चाहिए था. But the question is, it has been tampered with. Okay, so hash value and all these things have a lot of significance, and it is very easy to generate all these hash values also in today's time. You don't have to be a technical person. Please stop thinking. First thing is change your mindset. Please stop thinking कि मैं chartered accountant हूँ, I don't know anything about technology. You will not survive in this domain. आप कह रहे हो ना कि ये redundant हो जाएगा. सबसे पहले तो आप redundant हो जाओगे क्योंकि आपका mindset ऐसा हो गया है. पक्का 100% हो जाओगे. So please be very open-minded. सीख लो. कुछ नहीं जाता है सीखने में. Few minutes ही लगता है सीखने में. आप जाके सर्च करोगे ना ChatGPT में how to generate hash value of a document, वो सिखा देगा. But use an expert. The reason that you have to use an expert, and that's the reason why in our accounting standards again and again it said, is because then he knows how to capture this digital evidence, how to store it, how it needs to be accessed, and because the court will not accept it otherwise. So he knows how the chain of custody needs to be maintained. So it's very important for you to follow all those procedures and SOPs. Okay, for interviews also, be very mindful about who are the people that you're going to interview. What are your interviewing questions? Again, you're not tipping off by asking the wrong questions. So it has to be very well thought of. It's a technique. Honestly, it's an art. आप किसी का भी ऐसे जाकर interview लोगे ना, you will not be able to do justice to it. You might say some certain things to him which might just tip him off, or you might disclose some information to him that कि मैंने तो ये सब देख लिया है, ये से मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है, तो आप बता सकते हो क्या आपने इसमें से कुछ ऐसा करा है क्या, गया काम से. So please be very mindful. Plan your interviews according to your scope, according to the authority you're supposed to be reporting all of this to, and then follow them verbatim, literally verbatim. Because we are human beings. We tend to talk more than what we should. Right? And we get emotionally connected to a person. कि नहीं यार ये तो मेरा दोस्त है. ये क्या करेगा, ये तो 20 साल से कंपनी में काम कर रहा था. He is so trusted. Don't take anybody at face value. So see, the format of the interview really varies. In the sense, sometimes a recorded interview can also be fabricated. Right? With an AI, I can actually generate a deep fake. Whereas in a physical one, I cannot do that. I can document a lot of things. So the format, the structure, there are so many things, but it's also a practical perspective. You might not want a person to travel, so you might have to do a video interview. So it really is a function of so many things, but what is important is that how is it being planned, how is it being preserved, how it's stored, and how you're going to use it to arrive at your conclusions. So it needs to be, what I'm trying to emphasize on is that everything needs to be a very well thought process. Don't be casual about any of these ends. Each of them will really help you for your evidence gathering. Excuse me. So again, your cryptographic integrity, how the logs are maintained, how was the extraction done, what were the tools used. I think in the morning you all had a session on how the tools are being used, right? The AI tools and other things. So that's again very important. So again, if you are very sure about a red flag, If you're very sure about something which needs to be flagged, try to substantiate it by gathering more information about it. अगर आपको लग रहा है कि इस चीज़ में कुछ दाल में कुछ काला है, जैसे कहते हैं ना, then अगर वो आपको लग रहा है कि कुछ काला है, try to gather more intelligence around that so that you can prove your point. So focus on those things which are looking more suspicious to you, because in today's time there's everything in abundance. Data is in abundance. Only thing that is not in abundance is time. Right? Everybody is time strapped. Then what are the procedures adopted? This is very, very important. Ethical and within the framework. For example, if I'm tricking somebody by interviewing him when it was not in my scope, or it was done in a manner which was not procedural enough, or if I've tricked anybody to saying something to me in a conversation, it is not ethical. So it has to be, all evidence that you gather has to be done through following the ethics and the SOPs. So please be very mindful of this. Whether appropriate steps have been taken to ensure the confidentiality of the information, which is very important again. Whatever you're gathering, all your research papers, nobody should have access to it. Whom are you working with? Who are your interns? Who are the other people in your offices? Where you're storing all this information is because you never know when there is a collusion. आप doubt भी नहीं करोगे कि कब आपके लोग दूसरे लोगों के साथ मिल जाएंगे. Everybody can be bought off. So understand confidentiality is important. Of course, if you're 2 to 3 people working on it, then you cannot maintain confidentiality. But ऐसा नहीं हो कि everybody has access to your working papers. Be mindful about it. Because sometimes, we just have papers lying on our desk when we are doing work. Or we don't even, keep them away before going. So please, these are all very confidential things. Whether a fair opportunity is being given to a person of being heard of the parties who are involved. Whether sufficient documentation is maintained, explaining the way the evidence was gathered, reviewed. Again, who is reviewing it, who is the authority to review it. Always keep referring to your scope of audit. आपको जो framework दिया हुआ है ना, use that as a guideline. Whom are you supposed to report to? Who is supposed to be involved? A lot of times that may also be misleading, but you can't really do anything about it. If you are appointed by that person, there have been cases where somebody appoints you so that उसको clean chit मिल जाए कि उसने नहीं करा है. ऐसे भी cases होते हैं. And he might be the top boss. He might be the CEO himself also. But anyway, that is not something that you will doubt. What you are going to do is, don't doubt everybody around you. What you're just going to do is that you're going to be very, very cautious in your head, and you're going to continue doing your work in the way your scope is defined, and whatever procedures are mentioned in that, whatever your scope of investigation is, and then give a disclaimer towards whatever you've concluded, saying that I had access to this resource, that's why I could derive this information. However, this information could not be available to reconcile or to further go deep dive into this topic or to draw further conclusions. So disclaimer is very, very important. देखो, एक चीज़ मैंने सीखी हो या नहीं सीखी हो इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग में, वो है how to draft a good disclaimer, really. Or your disclaimer should be so good that it protects you from anything backfiring. Okay, so please write your disclaimers very, very, very well. In fact, even as chartered accountants, we say, right, to the information available, we always write a disclaimer. So disclaimer also looks like a very small thing to us. And sometimes you don't even read a disclaimer. But a disclaimer is very, very important. So please try and see that your disclaimer is protecting you well. Okay, and then be mindful about how much of this is going to be evidence in the court of law, what is not going to be, what is the format, the originals have not been tampered with, the original papers have been produced. How much time do we have, anybody? We are already out of time. Okay.
10 minutes.
Maybe 5 minutes. Yeah, so I think just 5 minutes more and then I should be. So these are the principles, because I have yet to talk about the standards. So this is ideally what the structure of a forensic audit and investigation report would look. Where you have the title page, then the table of contents, so the index. Hyperlink your table of contents by putting heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, make it interesting, put some graphics so that a person has to read less but visualize more what you're trying to draw at. Then the background, origin, why were you engaged, what was the objective, what was the score, what was the methodology that you arrived at, from what are the sources that you used to extract the data, what were the tools that you used, did you use some regulatory databases, did you go to SEBI's site to see the debarred list of companies, willful defaults that have happened, any negative list that you have seen which kind of has been useful in your findings, any name screening that you've done, any social media profiles, any mismatch of information. Start writing all of this. Then risk assessment is very important because in today's time there might be many factors that you have identified, but the impact of that risk on the assignment or on the objective of your finding may not be much because it might monetarily not have a huge impact. What I mean to say, you have to evaluate your risk also, classify it as low, medium or high risk. This will help you to focus on the very high risk points which would have a larger impact on the overall findings. And because you're constrained by time, you're constrained by scope, in your mind, you should start doing this kind of analysis. It is extremely important. Sorry? Hashtag value. Yeah, absolutely. So the hashtag value which I mentioned to you is generated to maintain the custody of those documents. So if you're referring to a document, you will say this document with the hashtag value so-and-so, so-and-so. So tomorrow when somebody else is reviewing it and he sees that this document which he is reviewing does not have the same hash value, it definitely indicates that it has been tampered with. So when you're making your report, as you rightly said, don't just write the name of the document. Ab sirf itna mat likho that I had referred to this document or my findings or as an hyperlink refer to this document. Write the name of the document and the hash value of that document. So that down the line, see, a lot of time all these investigations pass through many hands. Now who is the culprit and who has fabricated any of this, you will not know. So your handle is going to be your hash value. The minute you see that the hash value, the hash tagging has changed, it's an alert for you. Thank you so much. It's an alert for you. वो अलग बात है उसने क्या चेंज करा, वो तो आप बाद में देखोगे. सबसे पहले आप देखोगे हैश वैल्यू चेंज हो गई है, इसलिए अपनी हैश वैल्यू रिपोर्ट में जरूर लिखो. Yes, make your report very, very robust. See, if it is not robust, in our domain of financial crime, we call STRs are filed, suspicious transaction reports. There are so many STRs that are day in and day out being filed to FIU, that FIU is itself so time strapped कि मैं कौन सी STR पे time waste करूँ और कौन सी STR पे नहीं. Because to protect myself, everybody is filing an STR nowadays. सबसे अच्छा है कि if I'm suspicious, at least to save my back, I filed an STR. But if your STR doesn't have a very robust ground of suspicion, you have wasted the time of the law enforcement, right? You've diverted his time into finding some things which you have not substantiated well. So to substantiate your findings, to authenticate the source, to contextualize it, try and you think like an investigator, you think like a law enforcement agency. You think that this is going to be valuable to him or not. If it is not going to be valuable to him, then you can put it as an appendix. If it is going to be valuable to him, then you substantiate it as much as you can. This is an art that you'll have to learn. In your mind, you have to think and put your shoes into others, your legs into somebody else's shoes. So again, limitations, disclaimers, please mention what were your limitations when you were doing your audit, what was the information that you had access, what was the access that you did not have, who were the people who cooperated with you, who were the people who did not cooperate with you, for example also. Sometimes that is also a red flag. Disclaimer, uncertainties, reservations, and always never say that this is, never have a bias or an opinion. Your conclusion should be such that it is derived from your findings that you have mentioned. Don't go outside and say that though I have not written this in the report, I think this might be the case. Please do not do it. If you cannot substantiate it, do not mention it. It's of no use. It's not actionable intelligence. Okay, you can put it as an annexure, you can put it as a reservation that if I had the time or if I had access to this, I would have wanted to look at this aspect further. Good enough. But aap ye mat likhiye, I feel this and I feel that kind of a thing. You know, just on your own thinking. If you had thought, then you should have substantiated that. I'm just trying to say that how you can make everything more effective. सब काम करते हैं पर किसका काम किसका क्या इफेक्ट होता है वो तभी होता है जब उसमें मेहनत करी जाती है नहीं तो इट्स नॉट इफेक्टिव यू हैव वेस्टेड द टाइम ऑफ एवरीबॉडी एल्स इन्वॉल्व्ड and appendix. So this is typically how it looks, like an executive summary, then your findings, your vendor payments, your appendix to it, your exhibits, and everything should be linked to one another so that it's easy for anybody. In fact, we use a lot of open source for report writing also, for audit reports also, which helps you to link and maintain, the easy referencing of documents. Then these are the key standards which everybody should be aware of. As I mentioned, 320, which talks about evidence and documentation. It sends out principles on how evidence should be recorded, preserved, documented. Please do read it. Reporting results, review and supervision, engagement, acceptance and appointment. Be very, very clear about what your scope of work is. There should be no ambiguity there in the understanding. Then planning the assignment, what are the interviews that you're going to conduct, what are the methodologies that you're going to adopt, what are the sources that you have access to, what information has been provided to you and what information you need to gather. And discovery, e-discovery, digital domain discovery, many things like that. So I think with this and in the interest of time, let's finish on time. So this is what I specialize with over the last 8 years. So I have formed my own company which is called FinCrime Expert. The global domain of financial crime is called financial crime compliance. In India, this term is now being used, but a lot of you all may not. For you, forensic audit, forensic accounting, these are the terms that you all must have heard of. But financial crime is very vast. It covers frauds, anti-money laundering, bribery, corruption, trafficking, whether it is wildlife trafficking, human trafficking, drug trafficking, sanctions, tariff evasion, various compliances, whether it is a FATCA compliance, if it is FCPA compliance, and the biggest body of is, and the most important thing for all of us to know is that every country goes through a FATF evaluation, FATF, okay, where it's a US body which comes and they make an assessment of how many systems, processes and measures each country is taking to prevent anti-money laundering and terrorist financing, on the basis of which they give you a rating, which is very, very important for your country. One, has a country image. Secondly, to get funding from international bodies. So now a lot of emphasis is being put in this domain, and that's why there's a huge requirement of people to specialize in this domain in each of these aspects which I spoke about. And there's a huge deployment also. So there's a lot of opportunities for each one of you all if you all are looking at specializing in financial crime. And I would request all of you all to go to the FinCrime Expert portal. There's a lot of information that we have given which is accessible to everybody. You can read about shell companies, high-risk jurisdictions, high-risk businesses, UBO, PEPs. Again, PEP is something that I did not touch upon. That is politically exposed persons. What are the measures that you need to take when you're dealing with them? So we put a lot of this information which is accessible to all on the portal. Please spare some time, and we also have some very interesting case studies put on Byju's, on Ketan Parekh, what were the findings, what were the conclusions, 1MDB. So please to refer to them. They'll give you a lot of insights which you can use. And this is what the leadership team at FinCrime Expert is. It's myself. I have over 27 years of experience in financial services, started as an investment banker. Thereafter, moved to financial crime, as I told all of you all my story, which is a real story. So do believe me for that. Then I have Jyoti with me, who's the co-founder of the company. She was heading, she's my ex-DSP Merrill Lynch colleague. She was heading compliance at Nomura, thereafter Credit Suisse. And Ashish, who was the former Chief Compliance Officer of Yes Bank. So we are 3 of us on the leadership team. And we've also come up with this certification, which is called Certified Financial Crime Analyst. It's a 150 hours training program, which we are conducting over weekends, which is very, very exhaustive, covering every aspect that I spoke about. And these are the various roles in the industry across BFSI for any of you all who is looking above audit. So you can work as a KYC analyst. Very, very important role, because in every industry, KYC is required. You know, what are the OVDs, the officially valid documents? What are the risk mitigants of those OVDs? What are the vulnerabilities of those OVDs? How do you ensure it's not a deep fake? All of that. Then due diligence, fraud analyst, transaction monitoring, client screening, whether his name is there in any sanctions list, adverse media, sanction screening, trade surveillance, which I just spoke about again, dual use goods, fin crime analyst, investigator, asset recovery specialist. You know, globally, only 1% of the assets which are lost because of all these frauds or willful defaults are actually recovered. So it's a huge exercise. Data specialist, forensic audit, compliance, FATCA. So these are huge number of profiles that you can work in if you're looking at opportunities across the industry. And this is how the deployment is. Even payment aggregators, money service businesses, law firms. Law firms are specializing in white collar crime, as most of y'all would know. And these are the various training modules that we have, which is developed by all of us experts who have immense experience in the domain. And I think that's about it. So these are my coordinates. Please feel free to visit the website. Follow me on LinkedIn. Subscribe to my newsletter on LinkedIn. It's a bi-weekly newsletter which we are publishing. It will again give you very, very good insights. Very good insights. And none of these things are paid for. So please have please have access to all of this. So that's about it. Thank you so much. I really loved having this session. And luckily, I could not spot anybody sleeping because all of y'all kept interacting with me. So thank you so much. It was a great audience. And I thank Jayesh ji and Pinky ji for having me here today. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to come back and give back to the CA community. So happy to connect with anybody after this session as well. Thank you so much. Have a great day and wishing everybody happy Diwali in advance.